delegates here representing every sector of this industry. We have R&D people, we have feed people, we have producers, product developers, top executives. So we have a really great group of people in this room. We also have some men, very brave men. Let's give them a round of applause. You're perhaps right at this moment getting a taste of what it's like for the rest of us each and every day of our careers. So, so enjoy that. You will be treated accordingly. You can interpret that however you wish. No, I'm kidding. It's really, really important to us that men are in this room. We held this event last year for the first time in Seattle. It was a really, really inspirational evening. Amazing, better than we could have dreamt. But there were only 2 men in the room, aside from colleagues of ours. So we thought that was a real shame. So I'm really glad there are now, this evening, I think about 10 or 12 men in the room. So well done to you. This issue of diversity of workforce, of course, it's not just a women's issue. It's a men's issue too. This is about the industry and making it the best it can be. So to only fill a room with women would make no sense. So having men here is really important to us. It's ironic to me that this industry, so concerned with sustainability, sustainability of feed, of environment, of economics, seems to often miss the most pressing sustainability issue it has, which is its own workforce, which is diversity, which is youth. It's what's going to take the industry forward. So this is why this event is very important, I think. It's been proven time and time again that having a diverse workforce improves company culture, improves creativity, and improves the bottom line as well. So it makes sense. As a news provider to this sector at IntraFish, we're in a pretty unique position in gleaning a big picture view of industry opportunities and challenges. And to us, it was pretty obvious that leadership and people was something that really needs to be focused on by this industry. To this end, we've run a couple of initiatives at IntraFish. We ran a 40 under 40 series where we pinpointed up-and-coming youth leadership in the industry. And of course, we ran our Women in Seafood series, which got such great feedback that we decided to hold an event, and here we are. We have an amazing lineup of speakers this evening who'll be talking frankly about their own experiences and giving input on how we can instigate change in the companies in the industry. Before we do that, I'd like to put a word in for our sponsors, without whom this absolutely wouldn't have been possible. So thank you so much to Velasso, to Deutsche See, to the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute, and last but absolutely not least, to Trident Seafoods. Our first speaker this evening is Halhjem. She's Senior Director of Global Species at Trident. She's based in the United States, but she is a Norwegian, so never fear. She has a very long history in the seafood industry, but I know she's going to tell you all about that, so I'm going to leave that to her. But I will say that she's been a massive driver in this event. She's helped shape the content and get other sponsors on board, so we're really, really grateful to you, Torin. Thank you so much. With that, I'll hand over to you.
It is truly wonderful to be here in front of such a room of all beautiful women. And I'm very pleasantly surprised to see that so many men were so daring to show up here tonight. So a little bit about my background, my journey. Like Rachel said, I was, I'm born and raised in Tromsø in Norway. It's above the Arctic Circle. I worked on Norwegian and Russian factory trawlers when I was in my early 20s. I studied international business and economics, and I worked in Europe, in US, Japan, and Russia. Speak multiple languages, which helps when you are in such a diverse industry. I worked in this industry for 20 years. It's been a long time, but I have to say the first 10 years of my career, it felt like we were 4 or 5. I could count the women when I was in a conference on one hand. I'm glad to see Petra is here today. We're still here, Petra, but really, if I look at it the last 5 years, it seems like it's exploded. And it's wonderful to see so many women coming into our industry. At Trident Seafoods, I manage Alaska pollock and Pacific hake globally. We harvest about over 500,000 tons. So I have my hands full. Drew doesn't seem or Paul to think it, since they're throwing all this project at me. But more important, I love my job and I love working in this industry. And also, what's more important, I'm also a mom of 2 teenage boys and married to a wonderful husband. Wonderful for putting up with me. So tonight is all about how can we bring more women into our industry, and once we get them in, how can we elevate them? And that's what we're here to discuss, because we chose this industry and we have to tell and spread the word. Why are we working in this industry and why are we enjoying it so much? How to succeed in the industry. And this is my personal advice. Ignore all the men who tell you you cannot do it. I have had so many throughout my career, whether it was working on the boats or doing this or doing that. Oh, you cannot do it. You cannot do it. Ignore them. Rule number 1. More important is ignore all the women who also tell you you cannot do it. And this was also quite unpleasant surprise coming in this industry. And I think it's not just in our industry, but I often found that more women wouldn't tell me, especially as I climbed the ladder, or you can't do that, or try to put you down. Ignore them. Surround yourself with like-minded women. You have plenty here in the room who, also are pursuing a career and who enjoy working. Listen to them. Share your thoughts, your frustration, share it with them. Because they will not put you down, they will bring you up. And that's the key. When you are, if you want to succeed in this industry, you have to speak up and stand tall in the room. And get your message. Don't be afraid of doing that. Find a mentor. Not necessarily women. My mentors in my early career were actually men. And I often found more often that actually men were the ones who were more cheerleaders as they watched me grow up in this industry. Also very important, what I see is probably a little bit harder for women compared to men, is strive to be respected versus liked. We women tend to be very obsessed with, does he or she like me? Who gives a shit? Pardon my French. Strive to be respected. Because if you want to make it in this career and climb the ladder, that is more important than being liked. This is not a popularity contest. It never will be. It's not a beauty contest. This is all about be respected. Be respected for your knowledge. Dress code. I added it to my list because I have to say that it still surprises me that I meet women all over the world who will come up to me, in admiration and like, Torn, I want to be like you. I want to achieve what you have achieved. And then I'm looking at them and they have, a V-neck that goes down to the belly button, and I'm like, let's start with dress codes. And it's, I had to put it up there because being in such a male-dominated industry, this is important. You don't have to do like I did for my first 10 years to wear a turtleneck, at every meeting. After 10 years, one of my biggest customers, very, very big European, I said, Torn, we know you. I think it's okay to drop the turtleneck. I was like, really? So, but really, it is important because that has a lot to do with how you're respected. What are the challenges and barriers to enter our industry? I think we all know this. It's an industry dominated by middle-aged male decision makers who often are very intimidated by smart and strong-minded women. It takes a strong man to hire a strong woman. The seafood industry is also very outdated. They do not offer flexible working conditions, maybe a little bit more flexible here in Europe compared to in the US at oftentimes, but, maternity leave, job sharing, fortunately, you cannot bear the child to life today, at least not yet. So this is very important. Flexibility and offering flexibility to women. I know every woman in this room, you can do the same darn good job, whether you're at home or breastfeeding or multitasking, as you can do sitting in the office. And that providing that flexibility is very important. At the end of the day, too, it is very important to have support from home. We tend to be the one who have to arrange all the sports activities, parent-teacher meetings, We also have a full agenda when we come home. And managing those two can often be very, very challenging. And that's, again, where I found the most help surrounding myself with like-minded women. Women who were in the same situation, who were pursuing a career, but also having children. Especially as my boys were young, that was very, very important to me. And the other challenge and barrier from entering is that very few women know about the opportunities in our industry. They think, maybe we all have to go on a work on a fishing boat. We don't. There are so many exciting opportunities in our industry, and that's the word that we need to get out. I couldn't stand up here today without talking about Me Too situation. Does it happen in our industry? Absolutely. I think it happens in every industry. But if I have had to tell a few prominent men in our industry to fuck off, pardon my language, don't write that, Drew. It is, it is a tough industry. But if they are overstepping the limits, you have to speak their language. And that's a language they understand. Working on the Russian factory trolls my early career days, I may have had to kick one or two in the balls, not something I would recommend here. Don't write that either. But more important is that I have, in my career, met more men who have supported, cheered on me, and promoted me. And those are the ones you should latch onto. But again, this does happen, so my advice is put yourself in respect from the very beginning. And don't write through that. Torn gave the advice, go out there and kick them in the balls. That's not what I said. What do we as an industry have to do differently to attract more women in the future? We have to promote and be better at promoting female leadership in the senior and executive management. We gotta not just be bringing women into our industry, but we also have to elevate them. This is very, very important. We have to have more female role models promoting our jobs, and promoting what we do. We have a room here of about 80 women. This is our job. We have to help and promote what we're doing to bring other women in. We also have to offer better and more flexible working conditions. Again, back to that work balance. Back to Trident Seafood that I work for. We are probably a leader in our industry in terms of having women in senior management. We don't have a program internally to promote women. We have a lot of women in leadership at Trident because they are best qualified for the job. And that's what this is about. It's not men versus women. It's who is best qualified for the job. And that's why we have so many women at Trident. I actually did a survey within Trident, and I asked the other species, what's the top 3 criteria that's vital for women to succeed in our industry? This is the answer they got. Determination and strong strategic thinking. Don't be afraid to lead and make sure you are heard. And especially for women, this is very important. Thick skin. Yes, we work with men. Like one of them said, we're hunters, harvesters, butchers, often in remote and unforgiving areas. Don't forget that. You have to have a lot of thick skin. Passion. We women tend to have a lot of passion. That is very important. And that's also a huge advantage that we have. Being a woman in this industry, you have to be comfortable in the spotlight. Because when you are in a room where 95% of the people in the room are men, you are going to be in the spotlight, whether you like it or not. So you better get used to it from an early stage. And also one of the comments, which I highlighted, because to me this is equally important for men, understanding the fundamentals of the business. My experience is that women tend to do the homework 10 times better. So this is also equally important for men pursuing. I also asked Joe Bundon, our CEO of Trident Seafoods, what's the benefits of having women in leading positions? This is what Joe said. Women, they bring diverse and more creative ways of thinking. They are excellent at developing relationships, and they're also brilliant problem solvers. That's remarkable for a company with 8,000 employees worldwide and more women in leadership than I think most other seafood companies in the world. This is the message that all of you guys have to take home to your own CEOs. And I was a little bit worried that somebody is thinking, oh, Torun just put this up and she quoted Joe. So I asked Joe. I walked into his office the other day, and this is Joe in Seattle, and this is what he said. Joe, we have a lot of women in leading positions here at Trident. As the CEO, can you please share with us what you think are the benefits of having women in leadership here in our industry?
Absolutely. Good evening, Bergen. So happy to be talking to you today. Very proud of the many women that have executive positions at Trident Seafoods, including my two daughters who are growing their roles and responsibilities in this great industry. I think that women bring a different point of view, right? It's a different point of view than a man. They have a better management style and a very creative way of thinking. So we have a beautiful company here with leadership in our government affairs, our national accounts, of course Torun, and they're doing fantastic things for Trident Seafoods, and I'm very optimistic about the future and the roles that they'll continue to play.
Thank you, Joe. Have a good day. Bye. And the last point I have here is, why join the seafood industry? Why should we all encourage other women to join this industry? And my personal recommendation, why I love my job and why I love working in this industry, is that it's the people. That's the first and foremost. It's a very international and very multicultural. I deal with several continents in a day, with different culture, and that is a wonderful part to learn about. The culture also, it is very diverse, but it's also a very no-nonsense kind of culture. It's hardworking, it's exciting, it's challenging, but it's fun. We work hard, but we have a lot of good laughs. And that's also very important. I've yet to have a day where I look at my watch and say, oh, isn't it time for me where I can go home? And that is a wonderful job that you want to have. Now my screen disappeared and I don't know what was my last. The people, the diversity, the culture. And what I do like about it, and that's what I think also we women like, there's plenty of challenges and opportunities that we have to deal with every single day. And also, fish is healthy, and fish is food for the future. That is very, very important, and I think that is also a key selling point to attract the younger generation into our industry. Who doesn't want to work with food for the future? And all our fisheries have a wonderful story to tell. So that's my last. Thank you, and please help us spreading the word. Thank you.